Welcome back to another episode of Armchair Chats. Today we are talking to a lovely, amazing author, Jenna O'Malley, also known as Jenna the Soul Writer on all her socials, the author of the Merna Annals. I was worried I was going to trip over that, and then I did. I did it to myself. I did myself in. Well, let's bring her on and we can learn more. Hello, how are you, Jenna?
I'm great. How are you? Hello, everybody.
Very well. Can't complain. Can't complain. Tell the audience a little bit about your books and who you are to get us started. For those who don't know.
Sure. Sure. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references such as the Merna Annals. It's a story that literally asks one question. What happened to magic, all of its creatures, all of the different types of beings in our own history that could have possibly used it? Where are they? So it very much focuses, at least this sector that I kind of stumbled into, focuses on the great grandniece of Cleopatra. Yes, that Cleopatra. And you find out that Cleopatra's sister, Arsinoe, who Mark Antony imprisoned so that Cleopatra could become pharaoh, well, Arsinoe became the mother of all vampires. And her great grandniece has to deal with the fallout from Mark Antony's army. Shakespeare was kind of right, but he was really wrong, is what you find out.
That is a great intro for those books.
Thank you.
If you all have not read these, you need to. I don't know about you, but it's Cleopatra that sells me. Just a strong woman figure in the past, right?
She often gets compared to Elizabeth I and Elizabeth II and Catherine the Great for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They were women in an era who had all this power and knew what to do with it, and also had the balls to follow through. And that was the important part.
Yeah, and every story you read about all those women, you always hear it's just done in such a classy, I don't even want to say like sneaky way, because they weren't very sneaky. They were very direct and they got their stuff done, but it was very like they didn't kick and scream or do anything. Like it just happened. And it happened, and the guys are looking around going, how the heck?
That's how all the females in my books are. They know if they don't yet know, they find out and they learn how to be that. And all of the guys in their lives, and usually their soulmate goes, she is who she is. I'm not exactly stuck with her because this is willingly, but that's part of the attraction. So definitely that gets hinted upon multiple times.
I love that. So let's start with some of this magic that's woven within. And how can you share the moment you first felt the spark to write this series?
Oh gosh. Well, this is kind of a part two answer. So part one is I was a teenager in high school and was playing Dungeons and Dragons and writing fan fiction based on, and that's how I first met Nefertiti. She's been half elven, she's been half human a couple of different ways. She's been a bard, a rogue, a swashbuckler, and it's like, it all kind of wove into who she is today, and my roots with Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, and Vampire the Masquerade play into that. It inspires a lot of who does what magically. I actually use dice to write my battle scenes, so that way they're not always the same thing again and again and again, and it helps me to keep account for things like, okay, you have just two hands, not two hands plus your sword arm. And you're an actress. You understand that as far as blocking goes a little bit. And I have a stage management background from theater. So it really helps me to make sure in my mental blocking to also help to track who's doing what, when, and where.
Yeah, we've been working markers and blocking in the play. That's just sort of fell in my lap. So I'm with you. I absolutely get where you're coming from. Lots of getting yelled at. Just kidding. So your book is a roller coaster of emotions and just the way that they approach each problem in the scenes. What inspired the captivating storylines? And I think I kind of have the answer since we sort of touched on it at the beginning, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
It goes into the part two of when I therefore picked up writing again. I didn't have time to write for a very long time because I taught writing for so long as a high school
Ah,
English teacher. I kind of burned out on it. And then 2020 happened. So I picked up writing this story again. And that's when I stumbled into the idea of catalyzing. Neftiri is the great granddaughter of who she is. And it just, I can get lost in it very quickly.
yeah, wonderful.
And it's a word. I think a lot of writers understand that notion of you feel lost in it very quickly. So having to pull back out and look at it from a bird's eye view lately has been beneficial.
Very nice. Very nice. So, can you give us a peek behind the curtain and let us in on your writing routine?
I am a biphasic birdo. You have your morning birds and you have your night owls. I'm a biphasic birdo. I work
Ooh,
really well from like 5 a.m. to noon, and then again from like 5 p.m. to midnight. And that's when I do some of my best writing for me. So I don't always have to get up and do writing as soon as I roll out of bed in the morning. But if I don't do it before bed, I need to make at least a little bit of time to do something with one of my drafts, even if it's something minor.
okay. How about quirky habits? Do you have anything quirky about your writing routine?
I do some of my best writing sitting at a campsite in the middle of the woods on an archery trip.
I love
um,
everything you just said.
my husband used to do shooting events for traditional long curve recurve longbow. Sorry, and we would go into like the wilds of Pennsylvania for a weekend, and he would just shoot archery, and I would just be sitting there in the middle of the woods going, "This is so peaceful. I can actually just sit here
Wow.
and think," and just a lot of that actually helped me also for some of my battle scenes because they do take place in a natural woodsy environment. So some of my more brutal battle scenes happen in the woods for that reason because I was in the woods when I wrote it.
Alone with your thoughts with no distractions.
Correct.
So, can you share any funny or unusual stories that happened while you were writing or promoting your books?
Um, as far as while writing goes, I just recently, hello, buddy, relocated this stuffed animal back to
Oh,
my desk.
oh my
My
gosh.
brother George gave it to me. He's 22 years older than I am, and we were really, really close. I was his guinea pig baby. Let's get real. Um, Before he had his family and started long haul trucking, he and I were super close. And when he did start going away 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, he brought that home. This is Clive Jr. He
Oh,
has
hi,
Clive
Clark.
Sr. in his, well, he used to have Clive Sr. in his truck. Um, he was unalived. My first year, I was a public school teacher.
Well,
And Clive is now with his daughter, and I still have Clive Jr. But when I first started writing, Clive would randomly and for no reason just fall over like that.
uh-oh.
And I'd be
Speaking to
like,
you.
that's kind of what it felt like. If you do believe in that thing, call it coincidence. But it creeped me out enough that I had to relocate him for like a year plus away from my desk. And we're on a trial probation period now.
Ah,
I hope I didn't give him any ideas because he's been good so far.
we may
But
have woken Clive Jr. from his slumber of many years past. Do you remember that movie where the animals came alive after the children would go to sleep? Now, there's funny
uh-huh.
versions of this, like Toy Story, and then there's scary versions of this, like a Stephen King situation, which I
Yep.
have nightmares, and there's like a mouse hole. Just look it up. We're not going to go into that.
Right. I mean, I'm friends with Sako Toomey, who you had on later today. So,
Yeah.
my brain kind of has that subtle, this could be more than a coincidence, and let's stop freaking myself out and just move it.
Yeah, right. There's a probability.
At that point, it was just worth moving it away.
All fair. So, can you share any funny or unusual stories? It can include Clive Jr. that happened while you were writing or promoting the book. Did I just ask you that?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did.
That's what you just asked. Yep.
We're so professional here.
No, it's all right.
Writing is not always easy. How do you push
It's
through
not
life?
always linear. Um, One, I spend time with kitties. Hello. One
Oh,
of them's moos at my feet asking for pets.
oh,
Um, One, I go and spend time with my fur babies. That always helps me out.
yeah.
Um, the other thing is I get into a lot of dancing, like boy band workout videos. Um, I lost 100 pounds a couple years ago solely using those and doing keto.
Congratulations.
So,
That's awesome.
thank
That's
you.
amazing. Yeah. Oh,
And they're good cardio. They are
boy
really
bands
good
are still
cardio.
doing good. That's all I got to say about that. They're still
I
doing good
don't
work.
want to look at their joints. I don't want to look at their joints though. Some of them who kept dancing and teaching dancing after, they've got to be. May
Yeah.
they have a good orthopedist.
May they. May they. So that gets you through the writer's block or tough days.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do. I love that. I might take on to this. This is the second notion that dancing is a good way to just get up, move around,
Yes.
distract yourself. So every author has a favorite part of writing. Which scene or chapter in your book did you enjoy crafting the most?
Oh, book 3, which I'm about to send off at the end of this month, Bound by Vengeance in Mind, to be republished for the first time since 2022. Yeah, I'm so excited. There's a flashback scene where Frey remembers walking Neftiri down the aisle and giving her away. That's his adopted mom, and he's giving her
Oh,
away to someone he considers his brother in arms, someone he knows that she's going to be taken good care of. And I cried so hard. It's like, okay, this is literally like as if everybody's favorite gay best friend gave them away at their wedding. And it's
right.
so, heartstrings. And I just love it so much.
I love
Oh.
that. I love that. So, what was your biggest aha moment during the publishing process?
When I looked at what I thought was 3 books and realized that no, it's 5 books plus a bunch of spin-offs.
You're like, I'm not
Because
done.
yes, that is exactly what I looked at my husband and said at that time was, the problem is their son shows up in book 4 and his story's not done yet. And my husband said, oh, you just now realize that? How many books do you have in you? And I told him at the time, 13. And we're now inching to 17.
Woo! Amazing.
I said, this stream is not a stream. It is ocean.
Yeah, it is definitely ocean. Maybe 2 oceans.
Oh, don't give them ideas, Rita. Don't give them ideas.
I am a fan of spin-offs, just saying.
Just saying.
So we all love a good story. What's one book, not your own, and it can be fiction or nonfiction, that you recommend?
Thank You for Arguing by Jay Hendricks. I taught it as a public school teacher for both academic writing and in my creative writing courses I would develop, because it literally looks at how not just people who write argumentative writing would write stuff, but it dissects stuff like The Simpsons
Wow. I love
and
that.
explains how they used Aristotle's writing in their fiction to make you believe stuff. And I'm like, What? And so give it a read. Seriously, give it
I
a read.
will. I actually am very intrigued by that. That is amazing. I think
If
we'll
your
put the.
characters have dry dialogue, it'll be a huge help for that.
That's a great tip. That is a great tip. So balance is key. You're a kitty mommy, and
Yeah,
you have a husband and a life and
sure
a
do.
family, all these things. How do you juggle writing with all your responsibilities and other interests?
I would be lost without my planner. Do you know the movie 27 Dresses when he rips a page out of her Rolodex? If someone were to
Oh,
do that to me,
he'd end up
the
in that
Virgo is
closet.
suddenly not so nice.
That
Uh-huh.
man would have ended up in the bottom of that closet, never to be found under all those dresses. I can tell you that right now.
That's nightmare fuel for some of us who own and operate businesses. It really is. You just can't take a page out of our planner unprompted, guys. You just can't.
That is so true. And you guys got to know Jenna is one of the most prolific, organized, talented humans I have met.
Thank
And
you.
you just really, we met through Heart Breathings, and I brought this up in another interview. And the HB90 system has literally been rearranging and mind shifting how I organize. I used to be so on point organizing, and then I became not. And until we found this, would you like to maybe share a little bit about your planning system and why it is so detrimental that if someone tore a page out of it, they'd end up in the bottom of a dress closet?
Sure. I love HB90 specifically as someone who had to do curriculum planning for schools and curriculum development for schools. I used HB90 even to help organize marking periods in that same mindset, split it into thirds, and it helped teachers even in that context, realize how much more their students could get done in a short amount of time because of the way that Sarah Cannon contextualizes time blocking, which time blocking in general, even your school technically does time blocking for scheduling purposes. Your job does that to a degree,
Right.
but they don't necessarily teach you how to do it for yourself, which is the pedagogy genius behind HB90, because they're taking everything that people are using to run their businesses as cogs in the wheel of your life, and you get to take that control back.
That's amazing. That poignant. Very well. Thank you. That's
You.
beautiful. So let's dream big. Back to you, my celebrity friend.
Thank you.
What's next on your creative journey? Any projects, ideas, genres you like to explore or excited to talk about?
Well, I do also do coaching and operate courses outside of. On September 21st, my Soul Bard Academy course, soulbard.exe, does launch, where we will talk a lot about things that I, as a trauma informed educator, built into school programs for over a decade. So essentially, everything I know, I'm going to be putting into this course to help you get through in 6 months, taking a project from stuck or nothing to done, hopefully. Some people can do it in 3, some people can do it in 6. The average prolific author puts out 2-3 books a year. That's why I say 6 months. Give yourself, especially if it's your first book or you're returning to writing after a long time for XYZ reason, give yourself 6 months to get good at trying to simply do one thing at a time. Because it might take, as you kind of alluded to earlier, it might take a while for your brain to reorganize it. I study a lot of growth mindset theory from Dr. Carol Dweck and a lot of Dr. Ruby Payne's findings for those of us who grew up in socioeconomically depressed and therefore related behavior households. And a lot of that's going into my coursework. It also goes a lot into my character building too.
Right, which drives the point home that it's not a race, it's a marathon. And we have to be
And
kinder to ourselves.
you're only in competition with who you were yesterday, and honestly, you should learn to collaborate with that person, not compete with them.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. So, a fun question for you, and this is one of my favorites. What's your favorite writing snack or drink?
Salad. I am a guilty. Well, you can prep it days in advance,
That's true.
and it's there when you want it.
Yeah.
And you can throw anything you have in the fridge in it, and it still tastes good and normally is healthier for you than ordering DoorDash and a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I can see you running in my office and throwing out the taffy. So I'm gonna hide
Well,
that.
I will also admit that my guilty pleasure is peanut butter M&Ms or Fifth Avenues to balance the healthy salad.
Ooh.
So every time I finish writing or editing 5 chapters of my own book, I get 1 candy bar, and that takes me about a week. So that's my guilty pleasure for the week.
I love guilty pleasures. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And if life were a book, what would the title be for your life?
The memoir is called Unschooling Soul Writer. It's literally talking about
Ooh.
my transition in and out of education as a writer who is neurodivergent.
Oh, I love this. This is amazing.
Thank you.
I love that. I'm so wow. I've had so many aha moments this interview. You've just been so amazing. I'm like, wow.
Thank you.
You are amazing though, so I don't know why I didn't expect, you know what I mean?
You are too. You are too.
You're precious. Thank you. So one last question, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any tips or maybe some advice that you wish someone had given you when you first started your writing journey that you could offer to maybe some of our audience members who are scared to get started or could maybe use that advice?
Yeah, to everybody who has ever had somebody say you'll never make a living off of it, tell them 2 words. Watch me.
Great. Thank you, Jenna, so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Would you like to leave our audience with the details of how they can buy your books and find out
Sure.
more about you? Oh, look at you. Hi, precious girl. Boy, girl.
Hi, you can crash. This is Molly Moo, our channel mascot.
Molly Mew. Oh.
So if you want to find us at Jenna the Soul Writer here on YouTube, or generally just Google Jenna the Soul Writer, you'll probably find me. The Merna Annals are now on TikTok. Check them out. And book 3 is coming out ASAP in a new class, all within the same week. Can't wait to take you all on that journey, and thank you for doing this with me, Rita. Check her out, y'all.
Oh, thank
If you
you
are
for
not
doing this
following
with
her,
me.
you need to.
For more information, the links will be in the description below and also in the show notes on the podcast. And if you like this interview, please like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share the video. Thank you so much, Jenna.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Armchair Author Chats. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Miss Jenna. And thank you for watching. So we will see you next time.